My name is Yeon, and I'm an intern at the Candy Lab. Welcome to my series of educational cartoons for medical imaging. Today, we'll be exploring basic MRI theory. Magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, is a type of biomedical imaging that uses strong magnetic fields to generate images of the brain. This allows scientists to obtain detailed maps of the brain's structure. But how does MRI work? Well, certain atoms, including the hydrogen atoms that help to make up your body, have intrinsic angular momentums called nuclear spins. The net magnetization of these atoms is usually very small, since the spins effectively cancel one another out. But this increases under strong magnetic fields, since spins tilt either towards a low energy state, parallel to the field, or a high energy state, anti-parallel to it. To achieve this, MRI machines generate a static magnetic field. Then, to obtain an MO signal, the machine's radio frequency coils apply a pulse at the resonant frequency of the nuclei. As the protons absorb this energy, a phenomenon known as excitation occurs. The electromagnetic pulse causes some of the spins to change from the low energy state to the high energy state, and the net magnetization of the protons is tipped into the transverse plane. When the pulse is removed, the magnetic momentum vectors of the protons rotate around the external magnetic field, and the atom gradually processes back to the equilibrium state. This process re-releases the energy introduced, which is picked up by receiver coils within the MRI machine. MO signal, which becomes the basis of MO images, is the resulting current measured in the detector coil. But MO signal does not inherently contain location data, it's simply current in a wire. As a result, gradient coils are used to encode spatial location in the signal. Gradient coils generate magnetic fields that increase in strength along one direction, causing the proton's frequency and phase to change depending on their location. This causes the MO signal to be dependent on where the nucleus is in space, allowing scientists to track where each signal came from. Once we have obtained our MO signal, we must obtain the contrast in our resulting image through 3 steps: equilibrium, excitation, and precession. There are different types of contrast used in MRI, including T1-based contrast and T2-based contrast. After the radio frequency pulse is removed, the protons return to alignment with the magnetic field. T1, or longitudinal relaxation time, measures the time for them to return to the equilibrium state after the radio frequency pulse is removed. Additionally, the protons, initially in phase after the pulse, gradually lose phase coherence due to interactions with nearby spins. This leads to a loss of signal in the transverse plane. T2, or transverse relaxation time, measures the time for the spins to go out of phase with one another. The longitudinal magnetization increases exponentially with time. T1 is the time it takes for the magnetization to recover to about 63% of its original value. In contrast, the transverse magnetization decays exponentially with time. T2 is the time it takes for the magnetization to decay to about 37% of its initial value. Different types of tissue show up better on T1 or T2 weighted scans. T1 weighted images highlight anatomical structures, while T2 weighted images highlight fluid and pathological changes. Scientists will pick which type of scan they want to use depending on which parts of the brain they want to observe. No matter what type of contrast is used, the information collected by an MRI scanner is first stored in a data matrix called K-space. The center of K-space contains information about overall contrast and general shapes, while the edges contain information about the finer details. To obtain the final image, a mathematical process called the Fourier transform is applied to the K-space data, allowing scientists to study the final result. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested, I'd be grateful if you could stay tuned for future series.